Right. Good afternoon. My name's Bruce Wade. I am the current association president of the Professional Speakers Association of Southern Africa. And part of today, I just want to chat briefly about the business of speaking. So it's got nothing to do with how to speak or where to speak, but the business of speaking. So I put together this little model and we kind of unpack it as we go. And we can play around with that where we're at. So I'm going to focus on three different aspects of a speaking business, and they all begin with P. It's position, presentation, and product. And I want to start right in the middle there with your presentation. This is your keynote or keynotes, depends on where you're at and how you are wanting to speak. So a lot of top speakers have got a single keynote. Many are able to do ad hoc ones on a regular basis, depends on where you are. So on the right-hand side, there's four categories of professional speakers that we find. And it kind of spells case because we're going to do a little case study with where we're at. So definitely we get the content speakers, and most of our speakers are content speakers. These are people who speaking on a certain aspect of coaching or business, and they've got a couple of blueprints, a couple of business models. There might be skills involved in that. And you'll find a lot of our speakers have got content that they're able to create and then speak about. We also have a number of speakers that are all about the rights of others, and that falls broadly into this category about being an advocate of certain rights. So there's been a whole lot of speakers this week on women's rights and gender-based violence. We've got the rights of HR, the rights of workers, the rights of leaders, and there's a couple of speakers that are doing very, very well out of being an advocate for a certain aspect of life that we might not necessarily be aware of. So there's a few people that speak from their wheelchairs, and they become the advocate for disabled people in the workforce. And it's really, really interesting to have those people. Those are the types of speakers that get called into special events. We have Women's Day. We have, certain days within the year. A corporate might be also going through a certain kind of change, and they want somebody to come and speak about those certain rights, because it's easy to get an external speaker than listening to the CEO trying to change the rights of his organization from his office. We also then get a couple of specialists. Now we've got a number of specialists. These are specialists who are hugely educated and hugely experienced in a certain topic, that they become specialists in economics or the politics of Africa or South Africa, or what's happening in the USA and economics worldwide. And there's a couple of people that are focusing in on that. It could also be tech trends. So we've seen quite a lot of specialists rise up, and they're speaking about the metaverse and new tech trends and where we're going as a business with certain speciality aspects. Again, these speakers are called into corporates to help educate and inform people as the organization is changing, but they also scoop up good speaking contracts when it comes to expos and events that are specialized. So we have the marketing in Durban in South Africa, we get the innovation, we get the tech summit, we got the mining in Durban, and all those bring in those specialist speakers that are able to come and share the experience, and they speak with authority. They speak with a huge amount of education behind their name. We've got quite a few people in our members and speakers who are PhDs in various aspects, and they're able to bring that huge amount of academic experience, but find application into the world that they are speaking. Then we have a small group of experiential speakers. And these are the guys that kind of are the, either they open up a lot of the conferences, or you find that they come in, they're the after lunch sort of people. When everyone needs a little bit of a vuma, often it's a bit of a motivational speak added onto that, but we've got a bunch of speakers and we know speakers, and we've been working with people who have, for instance, they've rowed across the Atlantic, they've swum at the South Pole, they've cycled around the edge of Africa, they've climbed a mountain, they've fallen down a mountain, they've done various things, and there's a whole bunch of experience that we have, and mostly around sporting things. We also get quite a lot of people telling their experiences of trauma that they've undergone, and they kind of fall a little bit in the advocacy and the experiential. So we've got a couple of women that tell horrendously graphic stories, not to scare anyone, but to just make us aware of their experience, and then they draw lessons out of that about grit and determination and how they got there. We've got one speaker who spent 10 years locked up in prison in Zimbabwe, and it's a real good speech, and it's a horrific to hear what he went through, but the experience that he brings, and he's able to apply that back into organizations, which is great. So those are your kind of presentation, and there might be other categories, and I want to really refer you to Charlotte Kemp's speech, where she unpacks all the different categories of speakers and speaking topics that you can have, and she spends about 45 minutes on that, and it's a real good speech. You can find that on our YouTube channel as well. So once you've got your kind of presentation, it's great. You might be able to, like Paul says, a small percentage might be able to actually earn a living or a part living from speaking. And we often find that there's a peak, there's a season where you get a lot of bookings and you're able to get that. We've seen people who are especially involved in sports. If you're the captain of a team that's won a World Cup, you get a huge amount of speaking engagements, but then 3 or 4 years later, you kind of no longer the captain that everyone wants to hear, and then someone else gets a turn. Or if you win an Olympic medal, you become flavor of the month for a short period and you fall by the wayside. So it is important to build a business model that is greater than your speaking. So on the left-hand side, we've got 3 things. You can coach, consult, and train. And those are the umbrella kind of topics that we see as speakers. And we've got a number of individuals. Now, if you want that, you need to go up to the top level. And it's all about positioning. Now, we speak a lot about positioning for where you're at in the marketplace. So it's very similar to a box of cornflakes sitting on the shelf at a supermarket. If you are a cornflake sitting at eye level in the supermarket, you are going to get bought more than the cornflakes that are sitting on the bottom shelf where nobody looks, because it's blocked by your dress, your shoes, the pram, the trolley, your kids, and no one really looks down to the bottom shelf thing. So people pay for their products to be at eye level and easy reach, and I'll end promotions and all that. So go around and look at your supermarket and find out where you are positioned as a speaker. Now, we speak about positioning a lot in the association because it is vital, because even a well-positioned mediocre speaker will get business, but a brilliant speaker who's poorly positioned is going to get not speaking engagements. So we speak a lot about LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is a vital tool to be able to get your LinkedIn profile correct, and they keep changing the rules. So we need to keep on changing our algorithms and how we engage with it. And there's a whole lot of little tips and tricks and mechanics behind LinkedIn to get your LinkedIn active and engaged. So you should be getting weekly engagements in the hundreds on your LinkedIn profile. If you're getting that, you should have a 500 plus person. You should be able to get to a place where you are an all-star, so your profile is fully complete and you are able to engage with others on that LinkedIn. And if you are not engaged on LinkedIn and your LinkedIn profile needs updating, that would be the first place that we would send you. Go find a course on LinkedIn, and we've got members who are experts in LinkedIn. There's some of the world's best LinkedIn trainers are part of the global speaking associations. Also, if you're a professional member of our association, you get a free e-speakers profile, and you are able to access that. That's almost like an online speaker bureau where you build your profile. You get that. If you are a professional member, then go and update your e-speakers profile, because it's gotten me a whole lot of work. And each time I go and update it and I tweak it, it spikes and I get more stuff. I've linked those and they are able to complement each other. So my LinkedIn, my e-speakers kind of are simultaneously updated and are correct at any one time, and they bring in quite a lot of work. One also needs a speaker's website. So it's different from a company website, because quite a lot of speakers, they run companies, but we find that, like you can go to my company website, EM Solutions, and it's like, oh, well, that's great. We do coaching and we do consulting and we do a bit of training, but it doesn't talk about the speaker aspect of Bruce as much as if you go to brucewade.co.za, which is my speaker's website. It's got my videos, it's got my speaker profile, it's got my keynotes, it's got my outcomes, my target audience, and all that. So that's almost a separate website that you can send people, not to confuse them between where you work and your speakers, and trying to separate those two if you can. And this is a conversation. A lot of people don't want to, a lot of people don't have one or the other, but if you got both, I believe that a separate thing, just for clarity, because sometimes you speak and sometimes you consult, and people get confused if you try blend that in together and get that mixed up, because the client is confused, therefore they're not going to get your booking. And right at the bottom now, and Paul quite clearly says, there is no speaker, or very few that I know of, in fact, not one, that makes a full-time living out of speaking, unless you're a pastor and part of the speaking environment. But still then you need that bottom P, which is products. And this is involved in books, blogs, podcasts, and to build that tribe. And I'll come back to tribe in a moment. So it is ultimately important to have a book as a speaker. Now, no one will read your book, okay? You can write your book and you can probably be guaranteed that not many people are going to read your entire book. I've yet to, it's like how many books, I always ask this question, how many people bought self-help books and never read the full thing? And probably 90%. I had one person the other day, they stick their hand up and go, yes, me, high achiever in the room. Everyone else goes like, no, we get kind of 3/4 of the way through it, halfway through it, and we get overwhelmed with the amount of information. But your book is not about getting people to read your book. Your book is there to position you as a speaker with a book. So it's vitally important. Get a book out. It doesn't matter if it's just 8,000 words or 10,000 words. Get it a mini book, make it an ebook, get something out, and then work towards a larger book. The more the successful speakers that we have in Southern Africa have all got at least one book to their name, and they're able to build up a library and share that, because as you arrive in an event, if you've got your books at the back of the table, it puts you above the people who are going like, I've just got a business card. A business card that's attached to a book, or a book that is your business card, will position you a lot better for where we're at. Also, blogs and podcasts, and Paul spoke a lot about that. I think it's vitally important that everybody has some form of content, a product, so we're able to share and push out to others. Writing blogs, vlogs, podcasts, all that information there, creating content. YouTube has changed a lot of stuff now. YouTube have now got handles on their YouTube channels. If you don't have your YouTube handle, go and get one. It's vitally important that YouTube is now becoming the vlog. You don't necessarily need to go anywhere else to be able to get exposure. You should be able to drive your products through your YouTube channel with playlists and with your handles and hashtags, and to be able to build that. And all that then leads into this thing called a tribe. Now, tribe is a really interesting word. I was kind of I first put their mailing list, and I've done like a mailing list is like so last century. Everyone, you've got to have a mailing list, with people without a mailing list, you're going to do that. But it's no longer just a mailing list. It's no longer having this thing that you push out using MailChimp or emailing services. It's about building relationships. And I think with that, so a quote from Margaret Wheatley in her book about leadership and a new science, she opens up her book and says, relationships are all there is. You don't have to read the rest of her book because that is her book. It's all about leadership is relationships, speaking is relationships, and building a sustainable product pipeline is all about having that relationships with your tribe. So what is a tribe? It's a people with common factors. It's people with a common understanding. It's a group of people that are loyal to a certain cause. Hopefully that cause is you, your product, your presentation, and what you are offering them. Because if you've got a loyal tribe that you are attached to, if you've got a loyal tribe that you are influential in, your business will become sustainable. So it depends. Every speaker is slightly different. Your tribe could be heads of HR in large, corporations. They could be people in rural areas who make arts and crafts. It doesn't matter, but building that level of tribe, building that level of groups that are people who are loyal to you and who are loyal to what you have to say, that is a good, functional, sustainable tribe that people are able to build from. If you're able to tick all these boxes, I truly believe that you will become sustainably wealthy and be around for Christmas as a speaker. People who miss out on a lot of these things are struggling. COVID derailed quite a lot of these things, but it opened up opportunities. We were looking at online stuff as an association 2 years before lockdown. We'd already explored and written courses with Zoom before lockdown came in 2019, and we were able to go immediately. The week we went into lockdown, we launched daily Zoom meetings. I've trained over 100,000 people in Zoom techniques and various aspects over the years. And still today, I'm still called on, like, help me, what about this? How do we do this? How do we get this done? And people are still lacking in the skills that we get. It's going back to those competencies that if you're not a competent speaker, go and learn the tech, learn the practices, and practice. You cannot just speak. I think one thing I just want to leave, and I think, Paul, you'll agree with me, is there's a big difference between professional speaking and public speaking. Because people still say, I'm a public speaker, how can I come and join your association? I go, definitely, but we don't work with public speakers. Public speakers are awesome. They tell jokes at parties, they do the toast at birthdays, they do wedding speeches, they might speak at corporates and stuff. Professional speakers is taking the words that come out of your mouth to make money in a sustainable, focused manner to be able to grow the business by developing a loyal tribe and a following that you are influential in for a long-term basis. Thank you very much